Doing this one thing at least once a month will help you have a better understanding of your competition, and it'll maybe give you some ideas to improve your eBay store. So let's talk about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy. And I wanted to do something a little bit different with this video today. As I mentioned on the other side of the intro, there's one thing that you guys can do, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but I think it's pretty important. It's important to look and see who your competition is. Do some scouting on eBay. Check out their solds. You know, get an idea of how many items they have up for sale, get an idea of what they might sell in a 90-day period, and kind of get an idea of what you do differently as compared to them. Do you find their store being successful? Is it a store that you may want to emulate? Maybe there's a few things they do differently that you don't, and they're making more sales than you. Maybe there's some larger stores out there selling similar items to what you're selling. And this will give you kind of an idea of maybe how to do things differently to maybe allow yourself to scale in the same way that some of these larger stores have. Now, of course, you get to a certain size store, you're dealing with, of course, employees and things of that nature. But it's just a good idea to maybe look at your competition, see what they're doing good, and of course, things that you want to avoid doing that maybe they're getting away with because they're dealing with such high volume or higher volume, but things that you should still avoid even if you want to grow as an eBay seller on this platform. So I want to take you guys over to my computer. Now, of course, I sell different things than you might sell, but the concept is still the same. What I want to do is I want to look at some of these sellers, and I have some sellers that I've saved over some time, because they've intrigued me. They sell similar items. That's how I found them in the first place. And you can do the same thing. Go in and search for similar things that you're selling. Find other resellers, and don't look at the seller who has 50 to 100 items. Look at the seller who has the same amount of items maybe you do. Maybe you only have 50 to 100, but if you're that small and you plan on growing, look at the larger stores and get an idea of what they're doing and get ideas. And I think a lot of times we're kind of working on our own island. It's not that you're networking with these people, but you can still look to see and get ideas on how you can improve as a seller. And I don't think we talk about this enough. And this is something I do all the time. You should be doing it as well. So to start, now, if you have sellers that are saved like I do, you just go to my eBay and click on Save Sellers. The best way to do it is to search for just any item that you might be selling, and to go through some of the listings and find that seller who has a lot of feedback. That's a good place to start. And just do your research. Check different listings and see if they sell a lot of the same items you do, or maybe that's just a one-off item and they sell a whole lot of different things. If you're in a niche, study the sellers that are also in a niche. If you sell everything like I do, then look at those sellers who sell pretty much everything. Because if you sell pretty much everything, you're not going to be able to benefit from some of the things that niche sellers do. Like, for instance, coupons that maybe encourage customers to come back don't really tend to work so well in a store where you sell everything. I've tried that. But if you have a niche, you're going to get those buyers who are going to want to come back and buy the same kind of item that you're selling. So this is what I do. I go to my eBay under Save Sellers. So as you continue to do this, you're going to be able to give the option to click on the heart icon to save a seller. And it's a good idea to save a list of sellers. I have quite a few that I follow. So what I want to do is I want to start off with the seller as a baseline, and that's Best Buy. Now, you guys know I sell a lot of electronics, right? So that tends to intrigue me. It tends to get my attention. So I will look at Best Buy every so often just to get an idea of what they're doing. Of course, I'll never be at their level. I'm not trying to be at their level. but I want to see what they're doing. It's intriguing to me to see what one of these large, big box retailers are doing and how they're doing it. Now, as you can see off the bat, they have a lot of volume, about 4,000 feedbacks over the last month, 229 negative feedbacks. That tells me there's probably not a lot of customer service happening with this particular store. You want to focus, of course, making sure you get back to your buyers in a timely manner. That'll avoid a lot of those. So what I then do is I migrate over to view items for sale. So you click on that, and I will then sort it by ending soonest. I don't need to worry about, I don't even know why my search defaults at lowest price plus shipping, but ending soonest is good enough for me. I see that 13,241 items have been listed on this store. That's quite a large store. It tells me that there's a crew of people that are listing, shipping, and doing all that stuff. So I'm never going to try to be like this store, but I just want to get an idea. As you can see, they use stock photos, and Best Buy can get away with that because they are an authorized distributor of many of these brands, and they're given the authorization to utilize these photos, whereas you and I can't do that. But what you can do is strive to take photos that are similar, utilizing a background removal tool when you can, and just get ideas on how to take your photos to where they come out looking like a stock photo. And that's what Google search wants on the external eBay views that you get, and that's kind of what I think really works. It really looks professional, and a lot of these utilize zoom photos. You can do that with any Android or iPhone, most of them. You can improve your photos. I can. I know if you look at my store, my photos, I really need to do a lot of work and go in and retouch up some of my listings, but this will give you an idea what to strive for. And that's kind of why I use it as a baseline. As you can see, this is the number of items that are in their store currently. When you scroll down on the left-hand side, and this is on the PC, I'm sure it's the same thing for Mac, you'll click on where it says sold listings. And as you can see, over the last 90 days, Best Buy has sold 4,161 items. Now, that's 90 days, so the average is something, I'd say around 1,600 items. No, I take that back. About 1,400 items per month is what they're selling, which is pretty good. And, you know, you kind of scroll down to see what kind of items that they sold. They offer a lot of free shipping. I noticed that off the bat. And I can say what Best Buy does is they take a lot of their smaller items and they flip them here on eBay. They do have a presence on B-Stock, and for those of you who know what B-Stock is, it's a site where you can go where a lot of the major brands do sell a lot of their liquidation merchandise, but Best Buy only offers liquidation merchandise in bulk if you're buying appliances and like refrigerators and washing machines and things like that. If we go in and dive into a listing, let's take a look at this listing here. Nothing too fancy. I mean, they have a custom template that they have set up for their business, and it looks professional. More and more people are navigating and migrating over to the app, the phone, the iPad to buy their items. You still have a good percentage of people who buy their items on the computer, but the template option is really not as important as it used to be. So let's go to a different seller here. This is one that I came across and actually bought from this person on a different account. I bought from this seller because of mainly the price. Of course, I wanted to keep my cost of goods low, and so they had a parts or repair item, and I just needed a component off of that item. And so had I really maybe had other options, I would have considered the fact that this person has 21 negative feedbacks out of 600 and some odd in the last month. That's really high. And you know, you can click on the negative feedbacks, see what maybe the issue is, and that's something you can also do to see what not to do. Maybe get an idea of what customers want and what to avoid doing. And so you go to your view items for sale, And this particular seller has 4,462 items in their store. As a baseline, I have 620, but they sell a lot of the same kind of all over the place items that I do. You know, anywhere from clothing sometimes to health and beauty to home goods. And of course, let me change my search here. Car parts, sometimes I get that. You can see they use a wide variety of stock photos to their own photos. No background removal tool to be found. I think that's pretty important in a lot of cases. It's not the end of the world. They still have a very clear background. But I really think that the closer you can get to a stock type photo without using a stock photo, the better. And so I'm just kind of looking through some of the items. 4,400 is a large store, and it may involve multiple people to have that many items listed. Now, if you go down, like we said, go down to the left-hand pane and click on sold listings, you could see what has sold. And looks like they sold an iPad recently, some shampoo, maybe some Black & Decker sander, and a lot of other things all over the place like we were talking about. But if you look and see, they've only sold 435 items in the last 90 days. Now, that's a lot in line with what I'm currently doing, and I'm having slow sales. That's about 160 items in a month. And I'm used to selling around 200, maybe 225, 250 in a month, and my sales have dropped quite a bit. They've come up recently. I've had a lot of good sales over the last week and a half. But for a store as large as 4,000 items, you want to have more than this. Really, you want to have, I would say, your 90-day number, if you have 4,000 items, would probably need to be around, I'd say, 1,800 to 2,000. And I'm operating at a 1.7 sales conversion rate on eBay, and I just would like to, I'm wondering, this person's probably under 1%. So what can this person do differently? I think it starts with their photos. Maybe we take a look at their feedback. Their feedback, I really want to go back to that because I think feedback is very important. I just had a negative feedback that eBay just removed, and it was an unwarranted feedback. It had to do with a case that was found in my favor, and eBay told me that as part of the seller protection, if it was to happen, it would be removed. And of course, they removed it, but the fact that it hit my account it was on there for about an hour, it totally halted my sales. I had a lot of momentum going over the last week, and I'm down to, like, today I think I have like 3 sales. So something that I'm concerned about. I really think that within the first 48 hours of receiving a negative feedback, it does stunt a lot of your momentum. Maybe not as much as it used to, but I think it does play a role. This person has 21 negative feedbacks, and I think that's a big problem. I think the algorithm is punishing this person because I'm looking at their listings. I don't see that they're that bad. If we look at this iPad, for instance, they just sold a pretty expensive iPad. And if you look down, there's not a whole lot of template going on, and that's fine. You don't have to have a lot of that. You know, you can just have a simple explanation of what you're selling and what you want the buyer to know. And of course, they do have their logo and all that. And you know, they're able to sell a pretty expensive iPad. One thing I also noticed, this person does a lot of free returns and free shipping. And that's good. That is helpful. So I'm wondering if they didn't even offer that, maybe their sales would be even lower. But I would say work on the feedback, work on the photos to get that sharper image, and maybe have more of a background removal so that it sharpens the actual product that you're selling. Because a lot of these items are just kind of meshing in with the background, and it would be a lot sharper if you had a good background removal tool. And then I want to jump over to another seller. Here's another seller that I came across that sells a wide variety of items. If you view the items for sale, we're dealing with almost 10,000 items, so an even larger store. tells me that there has to be multiple. I would think there's multiple people working at this particular eBay store, and you have about 83,000 feedback. So this person's been selling for quite some time. Now, if we look at the photos, one thing that strikes me is you have that background removal, right? But a lot of these photos should be cropped. If you don't crop your photos, and usually you should do this on your phone, is where I do a lot of mine, like on my iPhone. I'll crop these ahead of time and then load them up on the app. Because what I've noticed is if you load your photos on the computer and after you've cropped them, they're too small, it may reject those. I haven't had that problem with the app, but the photos are too small. By blowing these up, you give your customer a better chance to see what you're selling. So that's the first thing, but there's a lot of stock-like photos. I'm not sure if these are actually stock or if they're, I know that this probably isn't stock, that probably isn't stock. Some of these probably are stock, but let's look at their sales. So almost 10,000 listings, and if we see the sold listings, there's 113 sales. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know if this is a result of maybe hiding your listings. There's some sellers out there who will hide their listings so other people won't see what they've sold. I don't know if that's the case here. I look over the last few days. So April 21st, we had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sales in the last over the last day. It makes me believe that this 90-day number is too low. At some point, this seller may have hidden their sales. So they're averaging 6 to 10 sales a day. I would say that's still kind of low for a 10,000 item store. And of course, this person may even watch my channel because on some parts and repair items, I do advocate using this little banner, even though eBay doesn't want you to do it. But I haven't seen or heard of anybody being penalized for that. But having consistent photos, I think, is very important. And, you know, maybe these photos are too small. They need a little bit better background, I think. I would rather have a gray background like this than a white background where everything kind of just blends in. So I like to use the background removal tool. It works a lot. Maybe white on white doesn't work so well. But if we take a look at some of these listings, so let's take a look at this Beats by Dre. I think the photo could have been better, but you know, neither here nor there. He sold the item. There is a professional looking template, and I think that's important. Even though, again, you have a smaller percentage of people on the computer buying than ever before, I think having a good description is what eBay is looking for. If you just kind of let it default to like the title and the condition, which is what usually happens when you list on the app, I think that's not enough. I think you need to add more supportive words in your description to help the algorithm out with your listing. So those are 3 different sellers selling a lot of different wide variety of things, and I will look at these kind of sellers every so often just to get an idea of, you know, what's selling for other people, how they're selling these items. Like this particular seller, they offer a lot of free returns. And while I'm not at free shipping, I have incorporated some free returns on my smaller items. And I think that may be helping a little bit, but I'm not going to be doing free shipping anytime soon. Now, I encourage you guys to do something similar to this. Get on your computer. You can probably even do this on the app on your phone, but it's probably a little bit more comprehensive if you do this on your computer or Mac. So not a super long video today. I hope that the few that we looked at gave you an idea of maybe what I do to research my competition and you know, look at things that they're doing well. Look at things that they need to maybe improve on that I need to avoid doing. These are just some things you can do. Of course, you can go deeper into their listings, see what they're doing, see what they're selling, see how they're selling the items, and give you an idea of maybe something you can try differently. You know, you might be having a slow sales week, month, year, and others that are selling the same kind of items aren't. And this will give you an idea on maybe trying something new, seeing what they do and they're making sales, and see what maybe you need to do something different. You know, if you continually try to do the same thing over and over again and continue to get the same results, that is what some say is the definition of insanity. And you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to take something you thought might work and totally scrap it and try something else for the type of items you're selling until you find that thing that actually works for you. That's why I can come out here and tell you this is what works for me, but that might be different than what you see from another YouTuber, and that might be different what they're telling you from even the next YouTuber. And that's because what they do works for them for the type of item that they're selling. And, you know, for me, I can tell you I've made all kinds of tweaks over the years with my listings. You guys know, many of you have been with me since the beginning, know that I've tried a lot of different things. And that's part of the key of being successful. If you fall into a rut and you're not willing to change, not willing to take a risk, maybe try something different with a few items, then, you know, you're going to fall behind. So the whole point of this video is to get you to start looking at other sellers, get you out of this mentality that you're on an island doing this by yourself. Your competition's out there. Your competition's making sales, and you need to figure out what you can do differently than you are now to help you improve your store and ultimately improve your bottom line and make more sales. So guys, what do you think of this video? Comment down below. And again, just an honest review of some of the things that I've kind of looked for when I do my research online. It's good to do this maybe once every couple weeks, maybe once every month, maybe on a day that you spend time doing your accounting. Spend about 20-30 minutes. It doesn't take long, and ultimately you're going to pick up on some things. You're going to pick up on maybe one or two things that you could do better, and maybe you can go back and look at your listings after you've done this and maybe decide maybe you need to do something differently to improve your store. So guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit that notification bell, because when I come out with a new video, or if I decide at the last minute to go live, which I usually do, you'll be notified and you can be a part of that video. Research is an important tool, and researching your competition is certainly an important tool if you want to grow and get out of this rut. Maybe you're not making sales, but it's all just another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent weekend, and we will talk to you very soon.